This entire universe is one giant mind, as above, so below. You don't run out to seek and chase after these things. That's the wrong mentality. The right mentality is to attract. If you focus on attracting, then you reach something that very few people ever attain. You achieve the ability to understand the true power that's already inside of you and how to draw things to you like a magnet. Anything can be matched to a specific frequency. 528 hertz is the highest frequency you can get in terms of operating and maneuvering on this planet in complete and pure power. These laws really became the Kemetic principles initially, then they became known as the Hermetic principles later by the Greeks. And these principles, these laws, they govern the entire universe, and these laws are unimmutable according to Thoth. And these laws really, if you analyze them, they are what we now are talking about in quantum physics and quantum mechanics. And the first law is that all is mental. So this entire universe is one giant mind, and everything exists or starts with first the mind. And to prove this, the device that I'm using to talk to you and see you and speak to you right now and vice versa, it all started off as a thought in a mind, a conscious thought, which then, so that was on a multi-dimensional platform, which then at some point went to a 2D platform where it was drawn out either by hand or on a computer. And then from there it was given to an engineer to turn it into a 3-dimensional object that can maneuver in space-time. And now we have 3-dimensional object that we can communicate through. You know, it's pretty amazing that all is mind. The second one really is the principle as above, so below. And we see from the larger aspect of reality that we all appear to be one consciousness and that there is only one mind. What the universal consciousness seems to have done is divided itself into trillions and trillions, maybe even googles of entities, so it can, subjectively observe itself and experience itself as many different objects and things and people and everything else. From every perspective, even a blade of grass or a rock. And so when you look at that on a large scale, you realize the same thing with the human mind. Our human mind is encased in darkness, and it has senses, the 5 senses. Those 5 senses are what gives the brain the data. So for us human beings, for example, we are a part of a sensory system for the main consciousness, and we're out here gathering data and transmitting it back to the main source, as above, so below. It's all fractals. And then the most important one to me also is the principle of cause and effect. And so we're seeing that every single decision you make, and I mean every decision, good or bad, is going to have a consequence, good or bad. And so when you start to analyze every outcome, pre-think every potential outcome, because we know that the universe outcomes exist in superposition in quantum physics. Multiple outcomes exist until you collapse one reality. And so when you start to think that way, all of a sudden you can collapse the reality that you want by making the right decision. So you have to travel in time with your consciousness to the future, analyze potential future outcomes, pick the one you want to happen, then travel back in time to your mind and make the right decision to create the future outcome that you want.
When we talk about the frequencies and that we can attune ourselves to certain frequencies, for example, this morning I was doing this meditation by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Synchronize Your Energy to Love. And it's amazing what happens, because you get in this place where you're pure consciousness, you're pure awareness, and you start tuning into the station of whatever that frequency of love is, or the same can be implied with abundance or joy or gratitude. I wanted to unlock that for people and allow you to explore that a little bit deeper, how we can synchronize our energy to certain frequencies and be able to attract in our life whatever that specific frequency and intention to be.
Oh, absolutely. You talking about love, that's the highest frequency. 528 hertz is the highest frequency you can get in terms of operating and maneuvering on this planet in complete and pure power, and understanding how to maneuver and wield that power. But anything can be matched to a specific frequency. If you look at Albert Einstein's theory of relativity and you look at a graphic of it, you'll see like a planet in space, and that planet in space is warping space-time around it. Just like space-time warps around our body, but the bigger the mass, the bigger the warping. Now what happens is when you have space-time, objects in space will fall towards the largest mass. Okay, so this is how come asteroids and comets come streaming in toward the sun, right? Because they're falling towards the sun. Now, take out the planet and put your consciousness in that spot. Your It's so powerful that you have the capability of warping space-time with your consciousness. And so if you perceive it that way, now whatever you think of, whatever you're focusing on the hardest is warping space-time, and the things that you're focusing on fall directly toward you. You don't run out to seek and chase after these things. That's the wrong mentality. The right mentality is to attract. If you focus on attracting, then you reach something that very few people ever attain. You achieve the ability to understand the true power that's already inside of you and how to draw things to you like a magnet. And so that's how I try to operate every single day. I don't try to chase, I try to attract. If you look at a person's consciousness, right, you connect a EEG to the brain, you connect some sensors, you plug it into a computer, and you have them start doing random thoughts. They'll start thinking about being sad, or show them photos of somebody that's sad or hurt or crying or ill or dying in a hospital. You can see that the frequency on the oscillation on the screen is going to be a very slow and wide frequency, a high trough, and a low valley, but it's going to be spread out. And what's going to happen is they're operating at a low frequency biologically. You show people things that are energetic, happiness, excitement, joy, or get them to start saying those things, you're going to see the oscillations are going to be very, very tight and high and very close together, meaning that there's less space in between the cosine wave, which means they're operating at a high frequency. Their mind is at a higher frequency. They're in a different mind state. And so once you become a master at manifesting, you know how to flip a switch to get your mind into that state almost immediately. And when you're in that state, anything you say or do is going to have an equal or opposite reaction somewhere in the universe. So you understand that the mind is so powerful when you get on that high frequency state and you understand how to trigger it, and you understand that high frequency is going to respond to a powerful mind and knowledge of self. If you are believing in yourself, not outside sources, you're not relinquishing your power away to other sources to give you vindication, then you're walking in a high frequency. Once you start begging, hoping, and wishing out for other sources, other deities, other people to come in and save you, that's low frequency. The first thing we have to do is people who are struggling financially have to stop talking about it in a way that's promoting the struggle. In other words, they are victimizing themselves as being struggling financially. Those frequencies that they're generating are keeping them in the same state that they're already in. Man, I can't pay my bills. Man, this sucks. They're holding me back. Man, I'm broke. You'll never in a million years hear me say I'm broke. I don't care if I have one penny left in my pocket. You will never, nobody would ever hear me say that I'm broke. I'm always abundant. I'm always rich. I'm always wealthy. Doesn't matter what's in your pocket, because the universe is abundant. The universe is unlimited abundant. So whatever I need, my needs are gonna always be met. It's a flip of the way you think about things. So people are walking around and telling people, they're calling people on the phone. Can you believe they just repossessed my car? This and that just happened to me. I'm broke and this and that. All they're doing is talk, they're speaking spells. Every time you talk, you're casting a spell. Even when you pray, you're casting a spell. It could be a good spell or a bad spell. But the problem is, you're casting a spell. That's what it's really doing. You're trying to say words that are going to alter the future reality in the third dimension. That's casting a spell. And so what happens is people are speaking these things, they're casting these spells on themselves, and they can't understand why what's going on. The law of attraction is very incredible because it works in both ways, high frequency and low frequency. So people that always have a bad story, always sad, always broke, always struggling, they always have those same stories when you contact them, when they contact you. They never have good news. So the best thing that I do right now is I block people who always call me with bad news. I don't want to hear the bad news anymore. I know that things are going crazy. I know you're having some problems. But every time, if you can't call me with any good news, don't call me again, okay? And so we have to change that mindset. We have to start flipping it. Yes, okay, I evaluate my situation, okay? My bills are due and I'm struggling financially, or my bills are paid, but I want to achieve more and I just can't get over that hump. The way to think about it is, okay, I need to be able to go to the next level financially. Let me start setting myself some goals. Let me start figuring out how I can maneuver. What else can I do to generate an additional stream of income? Start thinking in those ways. When you start thinking like that, all of a sudden the universe starts bringing little things to you, little ideas, little downloads, little people into your life that have great ideas, people that can connect you to another opportunity, or maybe even a better company to work for. But when you start thinking positive, okay, I really got to make this a goal. Within the next 6 months, I need to be this much more established in my life financially.